There comes a point in every draft where you just run out of high impact players. Where are those spots for the Green Bay Packers at need positions? We dive into this draft class just hours before we kick off the 2025 NFL Draft.
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers, the #1 Packers podcast on the internet, and the show for fans who know what happened. They want to know why and how. Thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers their first listen every day. We hope you like starting your day with us as much as we like starting our day with you. There comes a point in every draft where you have either found the impact player at the position you are looking for, or you are going to have to get extremely lucky to find that guy. And there are always day 3 dart throws to use on pass rushers, on offensive linemen, on receivers, on corners. Those opportunities are going to be there. You just have to understand you're looking at a much lower probability of finding a high impact player. When I talked to Trevor Sikkema last Friday, we talked about the cliff at receiver. Where are the cliffs in this draft at the need positions? Trevor told us he thought the cliff at receiver came pretty early. As I look at this draft class, and we're going to go through tomorrow, we're going to go through the tiers of players in different spots. We're not going to do that today. But I look at this draft and I think if you don't have a receiver by the time the Packers pick at 54, you're just not going to find a guy that you're going to be that excited about. And I think if you're into a Torrey Horton, who I have late second, early third, if you're into a Jalen Royals, who I have late second, early third, if you're into a Trey Harris, who I have late second, early third, you got to get that guy at 54. That is where the cliff is. Now, I don't know that any of those guys specifically are going to be the high impact players for the Packers specifically. If you want the guy that you think that I think is going to impact this team the most, that cliff for me is at 42. That's where I have Jack Bech. Now I have a number of receivers before that. I have 5 receivers before that. But that means you have to, I'm much higher on Jack Bech than others. I understand that. I think he can be something close to, not that he's going to set rookie records, but I see the comparison to Puka Nacua. I get it. I like it. After that, I just don't see any of the guys the rest of the way impacting the Packers the way that you really need that. Now, there's a case for Trey Harris, but I like Dontavian Wicks' upside better for a somewhat similar type of player. Torrey Horton is in there, but I like Romeo Doubs is a very, very, very similar player. You're not getting the same sort of upside. Now, Jalen Royals is the one guy who would make me change my mind on that. Because he has the explosive upside in that group. He's the one guy at 54 that it would be a little bit of a reach for me. I have him in the low 60s, or excuse me, the high 60s. I'm at 69 right now on my board. Nice. But I think the impact players that the Packers really need, those guys that are like, okay, we can funnel offense through this guy. This guy elevates the team clearly, doesn't just backfill potential outgoing players. It's 42. And if you look at the consensus board, we're not going to do this for everybody, but if you look at the consensus board, Jaden Higgins is there at 47. There's not another guy until Jack Bech at 59. They have Jalen Noel at 61. I don't think he's going to really be in play. And then again, Trey Harris, 65. Alec Ayumanor is at 69. I don't think he moves the needle that much. Frankly, I'm not as high on him as others are. And then Jalen Royals at 71. If Jalen Royals fell at 87, great, but I just don't think you can count on that, is the problem for the Packers. With these pass rushers, and I'm gonna group them together, even though I'm still very much of the mind that if they're gonna take one in the first round, I think they're going to take an edge player. The drop-off for me is that second round spot. You're just not, and this is why I talk all the time about how you're just not going to find the impact players later in the draft. Like the draft is really 50 picks. It's 2 rounds. It's 4 rounds because in the 3rd round and even sometimes early 4th round, you can find players like Kingsley Enagbare. I had a top 100 grade on Zach Tom. I had a top 100 grade. I had a top 40 grade, I think, on Zach Tom. Romeo Doubs, I had a top 50 grade on. So you can find those players, but on your board, it's the top 50 players are really the guys. Now, on the 3rd round area, JT Tuimoloau, if he's there at 87, I just don't think he's going to be. I don't like him at 54. Jordan Birch, if he's there at 87, I just don't like him at 54. Kyle Kennard, if he's there at 87, I just don't like him at 54. I actually like the 3rd round pass rushers here. But they're just rotation level players. Like you're not getting anything close to the upside of this top group. And so for me, it's at the end of the 2nd round. I've got Nick Scorton in there, Tyleik Williams, the defensive tackle from Ohio State, Femi Oladejo. At the end of the 2nd, that's where your drop-off is. Then into me, you're looking at like clear 3rd round players who are either dart throws or they're just rotational guys. All these other players, like they have upsides to be legit 6, 8, even 10 sack players. The TJ Sanders, the Braden Swinsons, who I really like. I don't know if the Packers are going to be as into that, but 6'4", 255. I wish he had a full testing profile, but productive. Nick Scorton, I don't think is going to make it to 54, but and it's a very weird body type for the Packers at 6'2.5", 260. Femi Oladejo at 54 would be early for me, but like not that early. I have a full-on 2nd round grade on him. 54, that's a 2nd round pick. As someone who can come in and be a Sam linebacker and develop into a situational pass rusher for you, I would like that a lot. It's why I've talked about finding that receiver in round 1. Because these guys, and Trevor Sikkema said it on a different podcast. He was talking about the Chargers, but what he was comparing was the pass rushers you can find, the defensive linemen you can find on day 2 are much closer to the guys you can find on day 1 than the receivers you're finding on day 2 relative to the guys you could take on day 1. So after that top group, T-Mac, Golden, Abuka, Burden, Higgins, and I would throw Besh kind of like within shouting distance of those guys. After that, there's a real drop-off. A real drop-off. The last one I want to quickly touch on here is corner. I don't see the value of corner in this draft for the Packers if it's not in the first round. I really don't. Because after the first round, like, look, if Will Johnson is there at 23, now apparently there's a medical red flag. I still would do it. Benjamin Morrison is another guy. Yes. Jahdae Barron. Yes. Then there's the cliff. That's the corner cliff to me. I don't think Trey Amos is in that tier of players even close. But he's really the only other guy that I would go, yeah, if they took that guy, he's a starter by 2026. I like Noah Williams. I have him as a late 2nd, early 3rd. But after that, you got to squint. Jacob Parrish, Darian Porter's 25. Kobe Bryant is not in the Packers' size range. I have Max Hairston in that. Like, people are going to get mad. He's going to be a first-round player. He's going to be a top 40 player. I have him more like in the 90s. I'm sorry. I can't watch him tackle. I cannot watch him tackle. So, he played at 183, and I'm not sure he was 183. He claims to be 191. I joked on social media that he's cosplaying 191. There's just no way 5'11", 183, even with all the twitch and all the explosiveness that he has, I can see the value in the first round. I don't. Now, if he's there at 54, let's start a conversation. But even then, I would much rather take him at 87, and that's just a non-starter. It's not going to happen. He's not going to be there. So that's why I think the plan for the Packers really is, unless one of those top guys manages to make it to 23, Will Johnson, Barron, who I think is a nickel for the Packers probably. So then it's really just Will Johnson or Benjamin Morrison. And I don't think they're going to take Benjamin Morrison at 23. You hope he's there at 54. Like, I know we talked about ideal scenarios. You've somehow find a way to get T-Mac in the first round. Benjamin Morrison lands with you at 54. And then someone like Braden Swinson happens to be there at 87, which is not a crazy thing. Braden Swinson is 72 on the consensus board right now. Femi Oladejo is 79 on the consensus board. That would be... Now, the medicals, it seems like they're going well. It sounds like Benjamin Morrison has sort of worked his way back into that first round range. But if that doesn't happen and he's there at 54, I kind of feel like you just have to do it. But there's a major, multiple hip injuries, hip surgeries. That's a pretty big red flag. So then it's Will Johnson and like kind of not a lot else, which is why I don't think they're going to attack corner in this draft until day 3. Now, Brian Gutekunst said some things yesterday that clearly, to me, affect the way that the Packers are looking at this draft. We will talk about that next on Locked On Packers. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena, and with Gametime, you can be part of it without the stress of last-minute ticket hunting. Gametime makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets, even when demand is sky high. Prices on the app actually go down as tip-off gets closer, and their last-minute deals can save you up to 60%. Here's why I use Gametime. You can save up to 60% buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. Plus, with their all-in pricing, there's no surprise fees at checkout. What you see is what you pay. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, the lowest price guaranteed. Brian Gutekunst was asked about the futures of Quay Walker and Devonte Wyatt, and was actually phrased as, are you close to making a decision? Have you made a decision on their fifth-year options? We've talked about why I don't think the fifth-year option is tenable for the Green Bay Packers with Quay Walker. I do think it is tenable for Devonte Wyatt, but what Brian Gutekunst said was he expects them to be part of this team in 2026 and beyond, whether it's with that fifth-year option or extensions. And this is something that the Packers have done with other players. They did the Jordan Love deal where it's like, okay, we're going to give you the fifth-year option plus the extra year, but we're going to take that fifth-year option money and we're going to kind of spread it out over time. There is a deal to be done here with Quay Walker. It's just not at the 15 plus million, almost $16 million that fifth-year option would entail. When you look at what Robert Spillane, for example, just got in New England, $11 million a year. Okay. Dre Greenlaw, $10.5 million a year. That's what he just got. Some of these other guys in that range, Jordan Brooks, a shade under $9 million. Kenneth Murray just got 7.75. I don't think Kenneth Murray is very, very good in terms of APY. If you could get Quay Walker on a 3-year, $30 million deal, that would be pretty great. Like the TJ Edwards deal is 6.5. Now, to get a Mike linebacker, you're probably going to have to pay more. He was a first-round draft pick for you, so if you're going into those negotiations, you're going to have to pay up. But given the level of play he was getting last year, before the injury, he could absolutely outperform one of those deals. The problem is, like, right now, he's not one of the linebackers that moves the needle very much. But there's only like 4 of those guys in the whole league anyway. So how do you handle that? What do you do about that? Aziz Al-Shaair in Houston just got 11. Like, I think that's the range that they're going to be looking. 3 years, 30, 3 years, 32, 33, with the first year and the signing bonus guaranteed only. Like, it's kind of a sneaky way to say, okay, we're gonna give you the money next year, or we're gonna work out a contract extension with you now. That seems like it's a 3-year contract extension, but it's really just like 1 more year, and then the team has an option again next year to decide, like, do we want to keep you? Okay. That makes sense to me. The Devonte Wyatt question is a little bit different because the 5th-year option is not quite so crazy in terms of where it would put him in the hierarchy of players. Javon Kinlaw just got $15 million on the open market. And what? I don't understand that. But he did. Javon Hargrave just got $15 million as a 32-year-old nose tackle in Minnesota. These guys are going to get money. And I think that's probably like Grady Jarrett at 32. Just got 14 plus. Devonte Wyatt, when he was healthy over the last 2 seasons, was the Packers' best interior pass rusher. I don't hate the idea of giving him a contract, but here's why I wanted to bring all this up. If you're paying Devonte Wyatt, and I understand Kenny Clark is expensive next year, but he's also expensive to move on from. If he's your nose tackle, they don't have another nose tackle on this team. If Devonte Wyatt is your 3-tech, they have another 3-tech on this team, Carl Brooks, who, is going to have to get paid here sooner than later as well, even if he's just a rotational defensive lineman. And the Packers tend not to give out, crazy money on that kind of stuff. So if he wants to go and get paid like a starter, if he wants $10, $15 million, I mean, he outsnapped Devonte Wyatt last year, but part of that is because Wyatt was hurt. If the Packers get a deal done like that, you're going to have off-ramps in it. The Packers deals always do. But how can you justify a 1st-round pick? Let's just like all the way up. How do you justify a 1st-round pick at interior defensive line with all of the players you have already competing for those spots? And all of the resources you've already allocated, if you're also going to give Devonte Wyatt a contract, which your GM is saying before the draft you intend to do. So if your plan is to extend Devonte Wyatt and you just gave Kenny Clark a not top of market, but a near top of market nose tackle extension, he's going to be very expensive in 2026. They can push that money out, let him play in 2026, and then move on. The move here then is to draft a defensive tackle, a nose tackle, a backup nose tackle, a TJ Slayton replacement, a CJ West, if you will, in round 3 or round 4, round 5, and you move. That's it. Now, if they can find an impact pass rusher at 54 and they're able to get a pass catcher at the top of the draft, and they have an opportunity to get a player like TJ Sanders, great. It might make Tyleik Williams a little bit more appealing. You say, okay, you're getting the future nose tackle on this team, and in the short run, he can improve as a pass rusher because I think that pass rush upside is there. I really like Tyleik Williams at 54. If you get a pass rusher, if you get Luther Burden, if you get Emeka Ibuka, if you get Jaden Higgins at the top of this draft, and then you draft Tyleik Williams, you're good. The rest of the draft can be whatever. Really. Because you're probably not going to find impact players there. Like, okay, 3rd round, would love me some Noel Williams, would love me some, Jonas Seveniah, but I don't think he's going to make it to 87. If you're extending Devonte Wyatt, then like the Derek Harmon dream is dead. And I know a lot of people are still going like, I think they're going to take a defensive tackle. I think they're going to take Kenneth Grant. For what? For what? Not if you're paying Devonte Wyatt. And the idea that Kenneth Grant is some like boffo run stopper, that's not really what he does right now. Someone like Tylee Williams is a exponentially better run defender right now than Kenneth Grant. Kenneth Grant, what you're betting on is the crazy physical tools that he has as a pass rusher potentially. That yes, he's a big-bodied player. He can eat up 2 blocks, but like Tylee Williams is just objectively a better player right now, and would project to be in year 1. So I just don't see it. It may be the kind of thing where if they can't find somebody, then they'll, that will change the way that they negotiate here. And I actually wanted to talk about that. I want to tie in the Jaire Alexander future, because this was a point of discussion on a podcast I was listening to recently. And, Brian Gutekunst just talked about it. How much does Jaire Alexander actually affect the way that they're drafting? Let's talk about that next on Locked On Packers. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into your gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. No console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe, or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25 to Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and Avowed, and as easily as you stream your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. With 4K streaming, watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribe services like Netflix, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Max, and more. Head to Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Amazon.com/Fire TV Locked On to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, Fire TV Stick 4K Max 1st and 2nd gen, and Fire TV Cube 3rd generation. Brian Gutekunst was asked about the future of Jaire Alexander, and it was phrased like, hey, if you can't get a deal done by the draft, would you entertain just keeping him? And, Gutekunst gave the classic equivocation and obfuscation, and it was, he's on our roster, he's on our team right now, which is like it is almost, in terms of cliche terms, it is almost the dreaded vote of confidence from the athletic director in college football when the athletic director says, we have full faith and confidence in this coach, and within 10 days that coach has been fired. Jaire Alexander is not going to be on this team. I don't even want to entertain that part of it, because he's not. The question that I have is, how much of any decision making is predicated on the existence of Jaire Alexander? If I am right, and I think I am, and they just don't expect Jaire Alexander to be on the team, I can see a case that they go, okay, well, what we'd like to do is see what we can get in a trade before day 3, and then see what the options are in the draft at corner. It's not the kind of thing for me, and this was posited on a show, and I'm sorry that I can't remember. I've been like absolutely hammering through these podcasts. I was on vacation last week, so I did not get to listen to as many of them. And that because it's draft week, there's more NFL and draft show podcasts that have been put out. So I'm like way behind. I'm sorry. By the time the draft comes, I will be caught up just in time for it not to matter anymore. But they mentioned, like, I wonder if what they're doing is waiting to see what they can get in the draft. And then if they find a player that they like, they'll just say, take him for whatever. I don't think that's happening no matter what. I think the Packers are prepared to play hardball with this. They're prepared to take this into the spring, into the summer if necessary. And I do think they are prepared to say, you either, because what the reporting right now that we have from Tom Silverstein is Jaire Alexander has, to this point, been unwilling to move off changing the contract. But there is not going to be a trade. unless he changes the contract. So are they going to get into a game of chicken where Jaire Alexander is going, look, I'm not changing the contract, and the rest of the league is going, well, then we're not trading for him, and the Packers are going, look, if you want to be here, but we're not going to have you here at this number. At what point do the Packers just say, well, then you have to be willing, if you're going to stay in that stance, you have to be willing to say, well, then we're just going to cut you and move on. But the Packers clearly don't want to do that. So what do you want most? What do you want the most? Do you want to win this argument? Or do you want to get some value for a player that you don't intend to be around? Well, the problem right now is that the player, or the player's agent, more appropriately, is saying, we're not going to change the money because we think if you cut us, we can get something close to the same amount of money, or the same amount, but close enough that the opportunity to choose our own destiny, to find the place that we want to go, is worth it. So we're just going to sit here and say, we're not changing this contract, cut us. That is the game of chicken that's currently being played. And it might be the Packers are going to have to eat some of that money. I assume some sort of new deal is being on the table with a new team, if that's what Jaire Alexander wants. This is a quagmire right now. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if early day 3 that phone starts to ring. Teams didn't get the player they wanted in the first round. They didn't get the player they wanted in the second or third round. And now they're going, this is not the cornerback group to go into day 3 with. And so, hey, we'll shoot you a 4th round pick, and let's just get this done. And we'll take on that money. Does Jalen Ramsey's availability affect his market? I don't know. Maybe. What do the Packers want out of this? What do the Packers want? What does Jaire Alexander want? Does Jaire Alexander want to be on the team? Is he like, hey, Xavier McKinney, they're working out in the offseason. That's my guy. I really like Jeff Hafley, Keyshawn Nixon. They're buddies. He seems to have a really good relationship with Jordan Love. Like, does he just want to be in Green Bay and try and make this work? Are the Packers leaking things to poison the well on this? Like, what is happening specifically? It's hard for me to parse out what these disparate groups actually want to accomplish. If the Packers want to trade him, then leaking that they don't think he's particularly tough and wasn't always as hurt as he said was a bad idea. Now, we don't know who that's coming from. That could be, someone from inside the organization whose goals are not necessarily aligned with Brian Gutekunst, but that was a bad thing to get out. If you think there's something salvageable here, Brian Gutekunst is not posturing like that's going to happen. He's posturing like, I'm trying to trade this guy. Is that fake posturing? Is that, tough talk to try and get Jaire Alexander to take a pay cut? Like, I would be all for saying, hey, Ja, just take a little haircut here, and either we'll trade you or you can stay. We just gotta massage this a little bit here. Could that work? I don't know, because we don't really know what these sides are trying to work out. All right, back tomorrow with our, we're going to do Packers tiers. Tiers, not Tears. And then Thursday, before the draft, we will have a show. Evan Williams going to be on the show. Evan Williams, I wanted to have something that can be evergreen. So like, if you get lost in the deluge of draft content, you can come back to that conversation with Evan. Or Friday all day, you're like, oh, I've listened to all the first round reaction pods. I got something else I want to listen to. There you go. So we will be live Thursday after the draft. We will be live Friday after the draft. I don't think we're going to be live Saturday after the draft. I might not even still be at the draft Saturday. TBD on that. Yeah, I don't think we're going to go live Saturday after the draft. But Sunday, I've considered, hey, like maybe we do another live on Sunday night. I'll be back home by then. We'll see. Follow me on all the social medias, Peter_Bukowski on X. You just got to search for me on Blue Sky, Instagram, whatever. The podcast is everywhere you can find social media platforms. Subscribe wherever you find Locked On Packers, wherever you're listening to us right now. If you're not subscribed, why are you not subscribed? Go hit that subscribe button. Follow me on the YouTube pages, the Locked On Packers YouTube page, where we will be live, so you can stay Locked On Packers.